On today's show, Alperen Sengun benched in back-to-back games for the Houston Rockets. Stephen Silas is sacrificing development for wins and still not winning games. TyTy Washington is the starting point guard, and much, much more coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
The Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
Hey, Houston fans, I am so happy.
You're getting somebody who's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, somebody who's going to come in and compete from day one.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on the way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for making LOR part of your day every single day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Joining us now to break down all of your Houston Rockets action from over this very, very busy weekend is none other than Madison Moore. You can follow on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. And man, was it a jam-packed weekend for the Houston Rockets, Madison. Game against the Golden State Warriors, getting burnt to the tune of 71 points by Damian Lillard on Sunday night, as well as some national media criticism going on as well. We may or may not have time to get to that a little bit. We're going to focus on the games here. We'll see where that takes us. But I think the biggest story from this weekend, Madison, is in back-to-back games now, Stephen Silas has decided to bench Alperen Sengun. He sat him on the bench against the Warriors with 4:01 left in the third quarter. He didn't see another second on the court after that. And then same exact thing happened against the Portland Trailblazers. Alp, third quarter, subbed out with 5 minutes to go in the quarter, did not play the rest of the game. And Stephen Silas went post-game and said that he benched Alperen Sengun because of the defensive issues. He said it directly. He said, I benched him for defense. They went at him in pick and roll, every single one. And those were his words. And my issue with the perceived notion of benching Alperen Sengun because of whatever you perceive his defensive liabilities to be, I'm not going to pretend like he's, a lockdown defender. He's got his issues defensively, absolutely. But the defense doesn't get better when he's off the floor. And the offense, in fact, gets significantly worse when he's off the floor. So it doesn't make sense. Like this is how Silas thinks when he's like trying to substitute in the patterns that he's doing. And here's a kicker. If you're playing a Boban Marjanovic and you're worried about getting burnt defensively, look, I love Boban as much as the next guy, but Boban is not saving anybody on defense.
Yeah, man. Bringing up Boban, I thought it was really creative how I used Boban. But, yeah, benching Alperen Sengun in the fourth quarters of these games, especially goes, counterproductive to what the season is about, right? Eventually, Alperen Sengun is going to have to learn how to guard in those types of coverages. And number one,
well, you're saying it's counterproductive to what the season's about, right? You are sacrificing Alperen Sengun's development, trying to win these games. And what's even weirder is I still feel like you'd have a better chance to win these games with Alp on the floor because of how impactful he is and the other things that even if he is, struggles defensively at times. Mask that. Like, find ways to put the right pieces around him if you're trying to win these games. If you're coaching to win, which it very much feels like Stephen Silas is coaching to win at this point, no longer coaching for development, whatever. This is problematic. You're sacrificing one of your rising stars on the team and his development for some perceived notion of, he's bad defensively, can't afford to have him out there. Makes no sense.
And honest to God, I mean, I don't think Sengun was terrible on that coverage. They weren't playing a deep drop against Dame tonight, right? So, and I thought Sengun, jabbed at him. but it was team defense that allowed Dame to, go nuclear in the way he did. And that started in the first quarter. Nothing was going to stop Dame from having the night that he was having. I understand that you have to try different things, but I think it's irresponsible to not play Sengun the entire fourth quarter, right? I mean, you have to give different looks, and Sengun has to learn to play in those types of situations. And I thought Sengun on the perimeter wasn't terrible. Dame was torching everyone on the perimeter. Now, if you want him to switch on those types of plays, or maybe just double Dame as they come across the court, so Sengun's not in that action at all, right? Those are the type of things that you need to do to get Dame out of the game. But not playing Sengun at all in these fourth quarters, I don't think is a smart thing. It's counterproductive to winning, to development, and all of the goals that we have this season. And I think Silas is doing himself a disservice in that, really, in the coaching aspects of the game. And I think he should address that. I think he needs to find creative ways to keep Sengun on the floor, like you said.
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, you could even defensively, right? Like, let him play. Let Sengun play at the level, right? Let Sengun play at the level of the screen, and then have, like, I don't know, Jabari Smith Jr. or KJ Martin, one of your athletic wings, cover for him on the backside. Like, have somebody else mask where his issues are defensively, right? It's not, and here's my thing, is it's not for lack of effort, right? Sengun gives effort defensively. Like, Sengun gives effort when he's on the floor. It's not like he's just, lollygagging about, he's not trying. No, Sengun competes, he fights, right? And in fact, in this game, the Rockets kind of like, they got energized and they went on a bit of a run, actually, when in the immediate aftermath of Drew Eubanks, who just completely bodied Sengun and then stepped over him on the floor, gave him the Ty Lue treatment, basically, and didn't get teed up for it, so the refs completely dropped the ball there. That's always an automatic tee, that's taunting, whatever. And then later on, so KJ Martin stuck up for Sengun in that moment, which shout out to KJ Martin. Love KJ, right? And he is so tight with Sengun. Like, they have the best chemistry on the team, those two guys. And KJ took exception to it, right? And then a few possessions later, you've got Sengun. He takes it straight to Eubanks' chest. Eubanks flops. It's like a whole back and forth. And you can feel the chippiness is building between those two guys. And it culminates in what was a flagrant one. Sengun goes up to try and, score the ball, and Eubanks basically horse collars him, right? Grabs him by the shoulder, the jersey, and just pulls him down. Completely dangerous, irresponsible play. And the team kind of rallied around him in that moment. So some of that is like Sengun has some of that F you to his game a little bit at times when he, feels slighted or when he wants to take it at somebody. And the team kind of rallied around that.
Yeah,
I'm at a loss, man, for the idea of benching him.
Right. Now, yeah, Sengun showed some real fight. In response to Eubanks, it seems like Eubanks kind of felt like he needed to take it to Sengun or make some type of statement. I don't know if it was trying to be physical with him to get his mind out the game or whatnot.
Somebody in Rockets Watch made the observation that Eubanks did get kind of bodied by Boban when Boban checked in, and so maybe Eubanks felt some kind of way about that, and he went to Sengun and he was like, "No, I got this."
I'm like, Eubanks, what are you doing, bro? This isn't you. Just relax, bro. When he was doing all that, but it was just so weird because it seemed like Sengun didn't even care. And then he went right back at him the next 2-3 plays. And then he got the and one, which Sengun seems like I thought it was funny because everybody was super upset and mad. And I was glad that the Rockets rallied behind Sengun. And it really gave us an edge in that game because I felt like the Rockets as a whole played with an edge, and they really did try and compete, right? It was just some things are just out of your hands at some point. But I say all that to say, Sengun did. I like the way that he responded, and he deserved to play. He played very well in this game. His post-up game wasn't going that well, but he was active on the offensive boards, and this is one of the things that when we talk about think of something creative to get the ball out of Dame's hands. I don't understand why we weren't aggressively trapping Dame on those pick and rolls. I mean, Eubanks is your roll man, right? Make Eubanks make plays.
Make Eubanks make any kind of play. Like
right. That's what I'm saying. Make him make a play, dog. He's a zero out there on offense. They're out there with Eubanks. What's the guy who missed like 4 threes in the fourth quarter? They just traded for him from Philly.
Philadelphia. Matisse Thybulle. Yeah, Thybulle
right.
can't
Matisse
shoot.
Thybulle,
Yeah.
not a great shooter, right? Like they don't have like these aces who they can give to who are automatic.
No, it's
like,
all Dame or nothing, and that's actually kind of the hilarious part about this game. Is first off, the Rockets allowing Dame to score 71 is ridiculous and very, very embarrassing. The fact that it took Dame scoring 71 to be able to beat this version of this Houston Rockets team shows just how down horrendous the Portland Trailblazers are and just how rough that organization is. So, look, the Rockets are in a pretty rough spot. Maybe it could be worse because the Blazers are in a pretty rough spot as well, and they don't have quite nearly the bright future that the Rockets have, at least. So maybe some silver linings here. I do want to unpack a little bit more from this game. Talk a little bit about Sengun, also his chemistry, his connection with KJ Martin this game. I thought those two guys played phenomenally well off of one another. We'll talk about a little bit about the point guard dynamics at play. TyTy Washington, Jae'Sean Nix. We're going to get to all of that as well as some of the takeaways from the Golden State Warriors game this past Friday. We're going to get there in just a moment after a quick message from our friends over at Prize Picks. Tonight, how about taking Luka Doncic to score more than 26.5 points? What about Giannis Antetokounmpo to have more than 9.5 rebounds? How about Devin Booker to have less than 6.5 assists? Or maybe we even go with Ja Morant to have less than 2.5 three-pointers made. So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, of course, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA. They've got you covered for everything. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe. They offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That means if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, the rest of this game, we talk about Sengun getting benched, and it really, that is kind of, it is the big story from these past 2 games. And when you look at what he was able to actually do in very limited minutes in both of these games against the Warriors, he did struggle offensively against the Warriors. There, I was saying he had a terrible shooting night. It was, he was completely off his rhythm, missed some gimmies, little hook shots near the rim, stuff that he usually makes. But he was impacting the game with his rebounding against the Warriors. He had 8 dimes against the Warriors. Like, he was still making his presence felt elsewhere in the game. And on top of it, very similar to how Dame just cooked the Rockets. Before Dame, Klay Thompson cooked the Rockets. And it's not like subbing out Sengun suddenly made the defense magically that much better. The Rockets struggle as a defensive team whether Sengun is on the floor or not is the problem. I do really appreciate Ryan Hollins highlighted on the broadcast. One of the issues is even when the Rockets, when they're playing drop, like they play drop with Sengun, but then they switch a lot of their other actions when Shingun's not involved. And the issue is they don't switch with purpose. They never switch with the idea of we're going to switch to make the ball handler uncomfortable. We're going to switch and I'm going to get into the chest of the offensive player, right? I'm going to try to, take away his comfort zone and, maybe force him to his back, weak hand or whatever. They just kind of pass their man off to the next guy. And that's what was happening in that first quarter is the times where obviously Dame was, getting into pick and roll action. Sengun was, involved there. But there were times when guys would just switch on to Dame and they'd give him all this breathing room. And then he's just like, okay,
yeah, exactly.
You're going to give me the breathing room? Cool. I'm going to get downhill or I'm going to fire a 3 because you guys aren't treating me seriously. You're not treating me like Damian Lillard, right? It's
a lack of urgency.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is. It's just a lack of urgency. And that's been an issue and a theme with this team all year. It's understanding, personnel, right? Who you are actually guarding, right? What personnel, what you are willing to give up with that particular personnel and what you aren't, right? And a lack of respect to greatness, right? Like you don't respect Damian Lillard if you're not up on him on those screens, right? If you're not fighting hard around them, and if you're not showing high, right? And when you switch off, if you're going to be lackadaisical, like going through the motions in those plays, he's going to make you pay. And the dangerous part about when you do that at the beginning of the game with a superstar, you can get scored 71 on, because those type of guys have an elite trait. This is what makes them great. They have an elite trait that when they get into these types of zones, they are capable of this. And I feel like the young Rockets are learning this the hard way. But it's like this attention to detail that the Rockets, they woke up. They woke up in the second half.
They realized it, but by then Dame was already on. Yeah.
Exactly. It's over. Y'all are over. He in a zone that is godlike. So I mean, I don't know. And there was also like that little bit of an exchange, right? Dame, Jae'Sean Tate, the technicals kind of flying around a little bit. Like, I think there was a bit of like kind of poking the bear there a little bit, where, okay, you don't want to poke the bear, right? Like, you don't want to wake up Dame and have him decide, okay, cool. Like, I'm gonna go drop 41 in a half on you because I can. I'm Damian Lillard. So some of that was inspired by the Rockets, I think, which at that point is just like, well, what are you gonna do? What's funny, though, is, we talk about these adjustments, right? Stephen Silas benching Alperen Sengun is his big galaxy brain defensive adjustment to try and make the Rockets more competitive in the second half. TyTy Washington also got benched to start the second half. So TyTy started against the Warriors, his first career start, and he had a fantastic game. We'll talk a little bit about that. But he also started in this game, and TyTy had a rough outing. Just putting it, being completely honest about it, rough game overall from TyTy Washington. 3 of 10 shooting, only 10 points. Only had 1 turnover. 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Not a fantastic, stellar performance. Not like he did against the Golden State Warriors. But I don't think he deserved to be benched. In the second half, I don't think it made sense to start Jae'Sean Nix over him. At the top of the third quarter, and those are the types of adjustments that we get from Stephen Silas. Like, that's his thinking, is like, okay, I'm going to put Jae'Sean in. Like, Jae'Sean is the answer defensively now. And it's like, well, what? No, he's not. Like, Dame basically took the first half of the third quarter off because the Blazers were up comfortably by 15 to 20 points. And then the whole stuff happened with Sengun and Eubanks, and then things started getting kind of heated. And that's when Dame was like, okay, like I'll start playing again. And then he still went off for 30 points in the second half. 25 of those after the Eubanks altercation. So it's one of those where I look at the adjustments, I look at the decisions that are being made by the coaching staff, and it doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my head around it, man. Yeah, I feel like we're at the point now, though, now that the Rockets are so injury riddled. Eric Gordon's gone, and Silas doesn't have very many options, and I wish he would stick with, young guys like TyTy. But it's just like the Sengun thing. You're sacrificing
minutes and development for TyTy, right? TyTy's going to need to play these minutes, right? Let him play. Even if he's getting burned by Dame, let him figure it out, right? Get him back out there and teach him. Tell him what he's doing wrong. Tell him how to change his coverages, right? Tell him how to position. Change the defensive scheme in the second half. Do something different. Don't just, you know what? TyTy's getting cooked by Dame. All right, go sit down. You're going to go sit down. I'm putting Jae'Sean Nix in because I think he's got a better chance against Dame. That's sacrificing development for wins now, and they didn't even win the game, right? They still got torched.
Yeah, I mean, and I honestly thought it was a poor team defense effort on Dame. It wasn't a TyTy thing. I actually thought Jae'Sean was the guy in the first half who was being too lackadaisical on switches and when he was being switched on, right? And so when you take all those into consideration, I was very surprised when he started the third quarter. But I will say, to Jae'Sean's credit, I thought Jae'Sean had a solid game, man. I thought Jae'Sean did some good things at least, man. He wasn't as bad as he typically is.
He had a better game than TyTy Washington, absolutely, right? TyTy had a rough all around game. Jae'Sean's game though, 16 points, 3 assists, did have 3 turnovers. But here's the problem: why is Jae'Sean Nix attempting the most field goals on this Rockets team? Can you explain that one to me, Madison? The Rockets have a Jabari Smith Jr., who's the number 3 overall pick in the draft. They've got Alperen Sengun, who's clearly the best player on this team. They've got KJ Martin, who is a budding wing. They've got Josh Christopher, who's coming off the bench, and I'll say Gup didn't have it this game, right? Gup's been having a fantastic February, and he was off in this game. But I would have been happier with Josh Christopher taking more shots. But why is Jae'Sean Nix the guy? It doesn't make any sense. There is no rhyme or reason to what is happening on the court with this. Like this, Madison, I'm putting this in like the top 5 of like worst games of the season for just like, what the hell did we just watch? Like, that's how bad I feel after like. Like, I hate it, Madison, I hate it so much. Like, I start, like, I'm at a point where it's, like, it's not quite hate watching, but it's getting really close to it where I'm just like, man, at the end, I wanted Dame to break 81. With 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the end, I'm like, go for 81, Dame. Like, I want you to break Kobe's record. Let's go. Like, I was cheering for Dame. I wanted him to break the record. Because at that point, like, the game was over.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of with you. I was like, well, shoot, let's see how much Dame gonna go for.
Just like every time Dame pulled up for 3, I was like,
boom, another one.
Let's go. I was all for it.
I'm like, because we got no hope out here. We have one hope. We have one hope, Madison. We have one hope. You know what our one hope is?
Pray for Victor.
Pray for Victor.
Oh my God!
Hang on. All right. We've got more that we want to talk about. We want to talk a little bit about TyTy's game against the Warriors. We'll share some final thoughts. We'll hit a tankathon spin because Lord knows we need it on this show and for Rockets fans everywhere. We're gonna get there in just one moment, but first, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories that usually comes along with it, then you've got to try a Built Bar, because with Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't even think that they're good for you. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, they're covered in 100% real chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, cookies and cream, raspberry, strawberry. My personal favorite is the coconut brownie chunk, but you really can't go wrong with a single bar on their menu. Every single bar tastes like a candy bar that's just jam-packed with protein, only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com, which you can still do. I'll tell you about that in a second. But now you can get them from your local Walmart or Sam's Club. Just walk in, grab a box right off the shelf. That's that simple. Or if you want to order them online, go there too. Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at Built.com. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Man, my face still hurts. We were laughing through the break and everything.
Right. Me too.
Oh, goodness.
Me too. Like,
no, look, you know what? Being completely upfront, Madison didn't realize that Jae'Sean Nix had taken 19 shots to get to where he was at. He led the team, led the Rockets in field goal attempts. That's why I'm sitting here saying, why? Like, what are we doing? And you know what? It made me realize it's because this is lottery talent, Jae'Sean Nix, right? Just gotta build around him, man. That's the development that matters for this Houston Rockets team. No. Like, you know what I do want to talk about, because he actually does deserve the flowers, is TyTy Washington. Look, TyTy didn't have, TyTy struggled a little bit here against the Blazers in this most recent game, but against the Warriors in his first career start, TyTy Washington had a phenomenal game. 15 points. He had 2 boards, 4 assists, couple steals, only 1 turnover, 5 of 12 shooting from the floor. And the really big thing, we know TyTy has his floater, right? But the a couple things that stand out to me about him offensively is, one, it's just his fluidity of play, right? He looks like he has the feel for the game, right? He understands, okay, I'm getting the ball to this guy, or I'm going to run a quick pick and roll, and I'm getting downhill, and I'm going to do something with it, right? His recognition of how to fill lanes in transition, whether he's the one running the break and he's, the point man in the middle of the floor, or whether he's on the rails on the side and he's, filling a lane, he understands what to do on the floor. His basketball IQ is fantastic. And the 3 ball that he was hitting against the Warriors really stood out because he was shooting threes basically off the dribble, basically, kind of like these little step backs, and not necessarily just these catch and shoot opportunities, which we've seen him get a lot of, and he hasn't been able to convert a ton of them, unfortunately, to this point. But that ability, that level of like self-creation from beyond the three-point line, and then on top of that, him having the floater game, his ability to set up teammates, the ball security is a big one, right? Like TyTy does not turn the ball over, rarely. Like he takes good care of the basketball, right? He doesn't have these careless turnovers where you're just like, you're scratching your head like, what the hell did we just see? Like he rarely has mistakes like that. And I said it at the end of the Warriors game. I was like, look, TyTy plays like a legitimate NBA point guard already, right? And he hasn't exactly gotten a ton of reps to be at that point. I think he should be the Rockets starting point guard at least until Kevin Porter Jr. comes back. Like, just there's no, and at least for now, it looks like that's the case. But again, then you see like a moment in this game against the Blazers where Stephen Silas decides to dig into his bag of tricks and, you know, start Jae'Sean Nix in the second half, all because TyTy Washington was struggling a little bit from the floor offensively. Well, no, let him shoot his way out of it. The number of times, there's like this weird like double standard, man, for players all across the roster, right? Like there's a double standard with Alperen Sengun and his defensive liabilities, whatever, despite all the offensive production he gives you. I've been one of Jabari's biggest supporters for a very, very long time, and I still am. I still think he'll get it figured out. Jabari was 3 of 11 in this game. 0-4 from 3, couldn't hit anything. Missed a technical free throw. Like, where's the standard for Jabari? Like, if he's struggling, like, why doesn't he ever get sat? Like, I'm not sitting here begging for, it's just, it's a weird, different guys are treated at different, or, you know, handled different ways. And I think it's very strange, honestly, in the grand scheme of things.
And I'd like to add, man, like, you know, for TyTy to be a rookie, like, you don't catch TyTy out of position off ball defensively, right? Like, you don't see TyTy getting backdoored to the rim, right? Like TyTy is like a stable defensive wing or guard on our team, and that's like the little things that kind of go unnoticed. But TyTy is actually a pretty good defender out there, and he doesn't get lost. He's always in the right position, right? And he has pretty good hands. He typically gets a strip or two a game, right? And so when you think about, oh, why is TyTy getting pulled? It's typically because he's not making his three-point jump shot, right? It's not because he's not playing hard on defense or he's out of position, missing rotations.
Which is crazy to then pull him for a guy who shot 2 of 7 from deep. I'm just gonna,
right.
Madison, I'm losing it over. I'm losing it over here, man. Just,
you know what? I don't want to talk about Jae'Sean Nix. I just don't understand it. I don't know what's going on, and it's a lot of Jae'Sean Nix.
A lot, man. A lot. He loves Jae'Sean Nix. And you know, I finally thought we were free after the Miami Heat game. After the Miami Heat game,
I thought we beat the Jae'Sean Nix allegations, man.
Yo, after the Miami Heat game, Stephen Silas was so mad at Jae'Sean Nix that I thought we were finally free. But you know, I guess he just can't resist, man. He can't resist the defense from Knicks.
Apparently, I mean,
but
it's
let's not get derailed though.
We won't.
This is about TyTy.
Yeah, no, but it is right. It is, that's the discussion, right? Is, you know, we've spent so much of the season, the debate, Jae'Sean Nix versus TyTy Washington. It's like very clearly, TyTy Washington is the best point guard on this roster, whether KPJ is healthy or not. TyTy Washington is because KPJ is not a point guard, and I've said that way too many times here on this very podcast, but TyTy knows how to point guard, right? And look, give Jae'Sean credit, right? He's a better defender right now, sometimes, and he's a good passer, but unfortunately he doesn't leverage any other offensive gravity to be able to do anything with his passes, right? If the only thing you can do is pass and a defense realizes that, right, guess what? You get the Ben Simmons treatment, right? Defenses stop guarding you. They're going to let you do whatever. He doesn't have a go-to move when he's driving to the rim. Like, you know, I was actually surprised. He had one drive in this game against the Blazers where he drove to the rim and he like stopped and he like leaned back and shot like a little like 5-foot kind of like fadeaway like off the glass. He missed it, but I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't ever seen that from him. Like that's actually like that would be a good little like stop, like kind of like a little Kyle Lowry, like use your big strong body to like knock somebody off you and then just go with a little, you know, a little fadeaway off the glass instead of going all the way to the rim trying to finish through contact. Like play to your strengths. So we don't need to make this a whole you know, Jae'Sean Nix versus TyTy Washington thing. TyTy's been playing incredible though. TyTy has consistently been making the most of the opportunity given to him. And it looks like, at least for now, hopefully over the remaining 1/3 stretch of this season, We keep seeing TyTy Washington start as long as, in the absence of KPJ and Jalen. And I hope that when those two guys are back, knock on wood, health permitting, all that TyTy Washington continues to be the de facto backup point guard, because he looks like a legitimate NBA guard. And he looks like a guy that the Rockets need to be committing development and reps and minutes to moving forward.
Right. And I just hope Silas understands, like, we're not losing things. Like, if TyTy is not shooting the three ball well, we're not losing anything from that, because he's so consistent defensively, with passing, with creating, right? And let's be frank, no one's shooting the ball well from three, right? You know what I mean? And so it's like, to punish TyTy for those things, to not let him play through those things so he can get into a rhythm, get his confidence, get in his zone to start shooting those three balls well, because we know that TyTy can shoot. Like, I fully believe TyTy will be a 40% three-point shooter in his career, right? It's just, he's a rookie, man. It just takes time for certain things, for people to get comfortable, used to the distance of the line. We talked about these different things with Jabari, right? But you have to give a guy who looks like he belongs on the court, right, that those reps and that ability to play through the mistakes, which he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Like, we watch guys on a team this young. We watch a lot of young guys make a lot of mistakes on this team. We don't see TyTy turning the ball over. We don't see we talk about perimeter defense all the time. We don't see TyTy not in plays defensively. We don't see TyTy not getting back, right? You know what I mean? All the things that we talk about are problems with the issues. Those things don't.
All the problems of youth, right? Like the common problems. Youth, young team, and they make this mistake, and they don't understand this, and they get lost in this, or they're not, whatever. Like, very rarely do you see a problem of youth with TyTy Washington, right? He's a very solid player already at this level, right? Yeah, he's a steadying force, and that's exactly what you want out of your point guard on the floor. You want your point guard to be that steadying force, right? And you want to see him recognize and understand those opportunities of how to get guys involved, right? Looking for Alperen Sengun when he has a seal on his man in the post, and understanding how to get the ball to him. Moments like that. And again, we've seen a fair bit of those, but it does feel, right, similar to Alperen Sengun getting benched, similar, TyTy getting benched in favor of Jae'Sean. It's just, at this point, the Rockets coaching staff is sacrificing developmental reps to try and win games. And that is detrimental to the overall goal of this Rockets season. And it's very, very disheartening to see that taking place. We do, and Madison, unless you got anything else that you want to chime in, I've got a tankathon spin locked and loaded for us to hopefully maybe, take some of the heat off from what we just saw.
Let's fire it up, man. Pray for Wemby.
Yeah, pray for Victor, man. I swear. We gotta hit the chant one more time.
Pray for Victor.
All right.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm feeling good, Madison. You know what? This was a cathartic episode. I feel better. I got up on my soapbox. I said my piece, and now I can run the tankathon spin. We're getting number one. I think we're getting number one on this spin, Madison. Here we go.
I'm with you.
God, it's just can't have anything nice here. It's all the way down at number 5.
Oh my God!
No, and you know what's worse? Here's the icing on the here's the cherry on top, the icing on the crappy cake, if you will. Guess who jumped up all the way to number 1?
Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Oh man. OKC 1, Chicago 2, San Antonio 3, Indiana 4. Houston Rockets down at number 5. We're going to crumple this tankathon spin up and throw it away because, my goodness.
Oh, my.
That was one of the most trash tankathon spins I've ever done. I also didn't have the visual on the screen for the YouTube viewers. I do apologize. I had to reset up my entire software setup with a new desk arrangement, and so I forgot to add that little scene in my software, OBS Studios, on the back end, a little peek behind the curtain as to how we put the show together. But I will make sure to have that up next time so you can sit through the invigorating spin and everything the next time we do a tankathon spin. But, Madison, you know the drill. Let everybody know where they can track you down at.
Yeah, man. I'm on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Y'all come over there and interact with me. Thanks.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked on Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Locked on Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked on Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.